Nice. Well, welcome to the lounge. It's so good to have you today. As always, good to see your face. Michael, good to see your face. I'm excited for the opening day of internship later on, but I got some fun stuff I want to cover today. I want to talk about conflict resolution. Oh, this could be a whole thing. This could be a 2-monther right here. Conflict resolution. This is a big deal. Whether you have to resolve conflict on a team, in friendships, with a leader in your life, conflict resolution will always be part of leadership. No matter how much you like a person, it will always be part of leadership. You can be best friends with somebody on your team, or one of your leaders, but we must have the maturity and the wherewithal to resolve conflict. There's always going to be something. You're not always going to agree. I love my wife more than anything in this world, and there's conflict. There are things, if we get deep enough, that we disagree on. But how many of you know you can disagree without dishonoring, right? It's the problem that we're in as a society. Because we disagree, we cancel you. No, you can disagree in a healthy way with another human, a teammate, a leader. It's okay to disagree, but you must at least attempt to resolve conflict when it is needed. Sometimes as a leader, you just got to buckle up, and just move forward with a decision that someone makes. I understand that. But every now and then you get in a setting, in a context that it necessitates you attempting to resolving conflict, coming to a mutual agreement, a compromise, a decision to move forward. Conflict resolution will always be part of life, but of leadership. Okay, so we're going to talk very much 101 today. Okay, let's jump right into it. Conflict resolution, according to Harvard, is the informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution to their dispute, to their disagreement. Okay, peaceful is the endeavor. Of course, it doesn't always, unfortunately, end up that way, but that is our aim for the sake of the whole, for the sake of the status, the state of all, right? So conflict resolution, let's talk about it. I'm going to give you a few steps today, really the basic steps of resolving conflict. I was doing some research and I kind of summarized some mutual points across the board on conflict resolution, ones that I agreed with. And so the first step is, of course, you need to agree to talk. By the way, I expect questions to come from this, whether it's on this live setting or later on Slack. And I would hope that we have questions in regards to resolving conflict. If it is a personal issue that you would like to talk about, of course, we can talk offline. That's what I'm here for. Okay. But number one, you have to agree to talk. You have to confront the other party. So let's just, as a metaphor, or as an example, let's just assume that you have some sort of conflict, disagreement, call it what you want, with another teammate. Okay, so that's the lens we're going to look through. So you first have to agree to talk. Okay, so it takes confrontation to call said meeting. Confrontation doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It has a bad stigma on it. We assume that it means there's a verbal, dispute, there's an altercation to follow, but that's not always the case when it comes to confrontation. Confrontation just means I care enough about you to confront you. I care enough about our relationship to walk up to you and to call a meeting. Okay, so you have to agree to talk. I mean, that's step one. Let's be adults. Let's be excellent, diligent leaders and agree to talk. And then also not just saying, hey, we need to meet. Hey, I want to talk with you. Hey, I want to blah, blah, blah. Check your tone, but you need to communicate intent. I want to talk and I want to meet because XYZ, or maybe just X. I care enough about our relationship. I care about the vision of the whole. I care about this. I care about us. And we both, you know, are very passionate about the mission. And I don't want to move forward together without having some type of resolve, right? That we make. So a resolution, a decision of moving forward to close the case on this conflict. And that doesn't mean we have to necessarily, that doesn't mean that I'm going to try to convince you to come to my side. Okay. I'm just trying to come to a mutual understanding. That's key. Understanding. And you can make your case, but don't be let down by missing, or don't be let down by them not meeting your expectation, which is come to my side. Okay. That's not what we go in with. Go in with, going into the meeting with, the heart, I just want to come to a mutual agreement with this person. Okay. So communicate intent. I want to come to an understanding with one another. Watch this. I want to understand you. I want to hear your heart. I want to move forward together. Anytime you can rally, a room, communicate that. I care enough about you, to, or maybe I believe, hey, Michael, I believe I misunderstood you. I misinterpreted you. I know that wasn't your heart, how I took it whatsoever. I just want to meet or talk soon. And it doesn't always have to be a formal meeting. It can be an informal hallway type conversation that takes 5 minutes, or whatever. But sometimes conflict runs deeper than that, and it, mandates a meeting. But anyways, communicating that I'm in it. I care about you. I care about your heart. I care about this relationship, and I care about the whole, the state of it all. Okay. So communicate intent. I feel like I shouldn't move on from this point so fast, because this even happens in text. We give no context, or in person or emails or whatever. Just like, hey, I want to meet. My man, it's like yesterday, I got a text from, for example, from somebody in my life who I respect. And they said, hey, at this time, run over to my office if you get a chance, and let's meet. And of course, I immediately start writing this narrative in my mind that something's wrong. And I'm like, I know better. I know this person. I know heart, I know that 98% of the time we tell ourselves a story that is usually not correct at all. But because I got no context, it started kind of in some way soulfully spinning me, soulful spiral a little bit. And I had to catch myself, and I was good. But immediately, because I got no context, this is kind of what we're going to talk about. I was like, what in the world is about to happen? And this person, all he wanted to do was compliment me. Just tell me thank you. So I assumed the worst, but I got the best, right? And so my point is, if you can communicate a little bit of context and, of course, intent, to my point, it helps the whole situation. And it just kind of, decreases some sort of anxiety going into the meeting. But hey, I want to meet because I care about us, and let's move forward together. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not, stand toe to toe on the same philosophies, values, and at the end of the day, we don't want to major on the minor, right? I vastly disagree with certain leaders in my life. We have went eye to eye. We have communicated that we disagree with one another, literally looked eye to eye and said, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. But for the greater good, let's move forward together. Right? And so it's okay. Absolutely okay. I heard his heart, he heard mine, etc. We move forward together. That's just one case in point. And again, because we're mature enough and we've been in this thing long enough at this point to not, to use the wisdom to not major on the minors. And we move forward for the greater good, for the mission. Okay. So tips, I say meet face to face when you resolve conflict, or at least attempt to resolve conflict. Meet face to face, because content is actually only 7%. Tone, face to face, you can hear it over the phone, but it's only 38%. Nonverbals, what you sense, what you see, nonverbal, I mean, it's 55% of communication, according to this specific study. And you might have seen this before by this point in leadership. There's a show that Jaylee and I, my wife and I, we enjoy watching. I don't necessarily watch it through and through. I'm not a big TV person, but there's a show that she really likes. It's called like Tell the Truth or something like that. Basically, the gist of it is you get 3 people on a panel, and let's just say that somebody in the 3 people, they are a professional juggler. Okay. So all 3 people, they're standing there. They take turns saying the statement, I am a professional juggler. Now that there are 2 people telling a lie, and one of them is a professional juggler. Now there's a panel on the other side of judges or not judges, but people that try to guess who is lying and who's telling the truth. And each person makes a specific case on why they are, or they make a good case on why they are a professional juggler, or that they are a professional juggler. Now, of course, only one is telling the truth. And my wife gets really into it. She would tell you the same story. She leans into it. She listens to their case. Now, I somewhat avoid the case because people actually, I can pick up on a liar pretty good. I've been around a lot of people who lie. I've been, done life with people who lie, and I can watch by their nonverbals who's lying. It's not because they make a case why they're not lying. I can tell by the nonverbals. And I think the advantage that I have, I don't know if I've ever gotten it wrong. I've just walked by the TV, and because of certain nonverbals, they give themselves away. And Jaylee gets right into, she leans into the case. Oh, this person's convincing, so therefore I'm going to choose that person's telling the truth. And I step in and I say, there's no way, because of the way that they moved their lips, or they leaned a certain way, or they blinked, or something gave it away. And because I'm some sort of disengaged and I just happen to walk by the screen, I say, oh, number 2, he's a liar. Number 3, they're a liar. Number 1, that's the juggler. And I can just tell by the way they're, leaning or holding their hands or something. And I'm like 19 out of 20 times I nail it, because my point is this, because nonverbal gives so much away. It allows you to have more clarity, etc. This is why face to face really, really matters. Okay. That was a long way of making this point, but nonverbal, it's so much more on what you say, and so much more than how you say it. It's more of what you're doing while you say what you say. Okay. And not saying that somebody face to face is lying. I'm saying that you understand them better. That's my point. You understand someone better when you see their nonverbals. Okay. If the entire time I'm talking right now, I seem really tense and I'm rushing past the points and etc. Now let's say I'm making a good case. I'm using the right tones and the ups and downs and dynamics of speaking, but you can just pick up that I'm tense. You can't pick that up in a text message. You can't pick that up in an email. Okay. The best way we have to emphasize certain things are emojis. And, there are no rules of emojis. And so it's hard to really tell. Okay. So my okay text that I send to you does not mean that I'm mad. It means that I'm driving and I want to be safe. It means that I'm in the middle of a meeting and I've snuck my phone to the side, which I really don't do. It doesn't mean that I'm upset with you. Now, if my wife sins, okay, period, that means we're going to talk about it later, right? Because I know her. So my point is nonverbal. Now, if we were to get face to face and you tell me the same scenario, I'm not just going to be like, okay. I'm probably going to be like, oh yeah, that's great. That totally, absolutely. That means the same as me saying, okay, well, I'm driving. Am I making my point? Nonverbal matters. Okay, so face-to-face meetings are the way to go. If you need to, I've had to do this multiple times. I've had to be, one of the parties who pulled in a mediator, and I've had to pull in mediators in certain meetings when I've tried to have other people. I've been the mediator as well. So if you need to, pull in an unbiased mediator. Okay. In other words, like case in point, there was one time I had this young adult leader that him and we kind of had a friendship as well. And we just couldn't see eye to eye on anything. I felt like he was constantly disagreeing with me. We were having this weird tension, this weird beef with one another. And I was like, what is happening? And face to face, this was years ago, face to face, we tried to resolve it. We tried to work it out. And it was like we were getting nowhere. He was way more emotional than what I could handle. And I just didn't know how to steward it at the time and kind of get to his level. And I was trying to move forward. He wanted to sit in it. And I was like, what in the world is happening? So I told this guy, I said, hey, let's pull in our senior pastor. And literally within like 10, 15 minutes of meeting with our senior pastor, we both realized that we were wanting the same thing. That's why it is important to have an unbiased mediator sometimes in the room if you need to. If you get nowhere, that's the whole Matthew 18, I believe. That's the whole approach, right? Face to face. That's the Bible, by the way. Face to face, and then you start pulling in, etc. Moving on. But my point is, if you need to, pull in somebody to mediate the meeting, unbiased, unemotional. Okay. That's essentially what I do with consulting. I have no other agenda. I have no bias with your staff. Okay. You're all wanting the same thing. You just don't know how to get there because there are so many emotions and agendas and etc. involved. And I step in and I say, okay, this is dysfunctional. This is broken. We need to fix this. Let's do this. Let's move forward this way. You're all wanting the same thing. Okay, so, all right. Number 2, I'll move through this quickly. Give them room to talk. This was a hard one for me to learn because I wanted to really make my case. And I would typically lean on the side of, I want them to come on my side of things because I'm a convincer. That I make a case for things. I'm a salesman. I believe in what I serve, and I believe wholeheartedly in my philosophies and in my values and methodologies, and I'm very confident in that. And what they used to do in meetings when I would try to resolve conflict was try to make my case, and I wouldn't listen enough. And that's not maturity. That's not applying wisdom. Okay, because I know that there's a value in giving them room to talk. It's dialogue. It's not a place to give a monologue or to only make your case. So you need to give them room to talk. Ask questions. Man, there's something powerful and humble about going low. That's what I tell people that I mentor, that I pastor, that I coach. When you go into a meeting, go low. In other words, go in humbly and ask questions. Really get to know their heart. Okay. So give them room to talk. Number 3, identify the conflict. Really get down to the root level. Where is this coming from? Where is this conflict coming from? Sometimes it has to do with offense that happened 18 months prior, but you need to get down to that level and really identify the conflict. Where is this coming from? Or maybe it is a personal insecurity, and it might be the meeting and the place to confess that, to identify that and confess that. Maybe we are just the ones at fault. Maybe we are the reason for conflict. And it has nothing to do with them, with the other party. The problem wasn't the actual problem, right? So identify the conflict. Good morning. All right. And then, of course, best case scenario, you resolve the conflict. Resolve it. Talk solutions. What do we do? What can we do together? What can I do on my side? Humble yourself. What can I do on my side to help resolve this? I'm here for a resolution. I want to move forward together. What can I do better? Okay, so talk through solutions. Okay, this is not the time to say, well, you need to do this. You need to do that. It's more of a, what can I do and what can we do together? Okay, you are accepting responsibility, assuming quite a bit of responsibility, and then rallying the room. You hear me talk about that a lot. But anytime people can feel like you have their best interest in mind, y'all's best interest in mind, and what can we do? What can we do together? Okay. If you cannot agree on a next step solution, revisit another day. You might be mentally overloaded trying to find it. It's okay. Don't be too discouraged. You can maybe find it another day. Okay. Engaged and unbiased mediator, maybe at that point. If you feel like you're just talking in circles, maybe it's time to pull in somebody. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But you need a next step walking out of this one right here. Okay. Which, number 5, agree on next steps. So you talk solutions here, resolving the conflict, and then you agree on the next steps. Where do we go from here? Okay. So it's what can I do? Right? What can we do? And then where do we go from here? All right. And then number 6, repeat the solution to one another. This is coaching 101. What did you hear me say? Because sometimes you can communicate something or, relay a bit of information and actual communication didn't happen clearly like you thought. So what did you hear me say? Repeat back to me. So you don't necessarily say that to them in this meeting. You would say more of, let's say out loud what we understand the solution or the next step to be. So you would say, like, if I'm understanding this right, this is what we're going to do. And you just repeat it, make it very clear, and you move forward. That's number 6. And then number 7, follow through. This is huge. This is when you get to show that you have character of integrity, that you are a person of your word, that you are trustworthy, and you truly want the best, that you truly want the best for them, for us, for all of us, right? Follow through. Do what you say you're going to do. Show some action and effort, because you started by talking about your intent and your intent to resolve the conflict. And it's going to take work, not just in the meeting. Maybe something can be resolved in a meeting. Maybe, there was an assumption or an accusation that was made. You can resolve it, etc., move forward. But sometimes it's going to take work in the days, weeks, years, etc., whatever ahead. So follow through with what you say you're going to do. Okay. I hope this helps at all. Are there any questions on this call right now? No worries. If not, Mike.
Hey, PT. Thank you again. Thank you again for that teaching. It was really good.
Thank you, man.
Would you recommend this same resolution? Let's say if it was someone higher up, for example, if you and Pastor McManus had a conflict, would you do the same steps?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would. Absolutely. It shows honor. It shows whether I do this to him, he does this for me. This is a pretty conflict resolution methodology with really most relationships in your life. So yeah, I would do the same thing. We would agree to talk, communicate, intent. And we've had these, by the way, we've had disagreements, and it's made our relationship stronger when we apply enough maturity to have it, and enough wisdom to resolve it. Give them room to talk, absolutely. Identify the conflict. Yeah, this is pretty one-on-one stuff across the board. So great questions, man. And agree on next steps. That's big. Follow through. Yeah, absolutely. Every one of these steps we have done and will continue to do because we are in relationship.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
great question, man. Thank you for asking.